Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well. Many have been asking me to comment on the situation on the chart of one important precious metal, and yes, you guessed it, that is silver metal. So I want to show you this chart and explain to you why this chart of silver is going to be absolutely critical and important in the next several weeks and months, and what I think is most likely for silver in the next several months based on what we're seeing on the charts. All right, guys, join me. Alright guys, welcome back. So again, there have been a lot of requests to talk about the silver chart. So I want to give you a brief and concise analysis of the chart of silver, just keeping it simple and short and sweet. Really, as far as we can see, if you just pull this back, as you can see here on this chart, going all the way, this is very important to actually appreciate. This low that silver made here, that was September of last year. And this was September of this year. Notice this low and this low. And if we just draw a trend line, again, let me just get rid of all these lines and get my pen. So if this was the low of September last year, we connected this low here, we made in March of this year. Notice that silver very recently, this month, tested that trend line. It came down to the trend line, this magenta purple line you see here, and it bounced from it. That's really important, that it bounced, it held the trend line and it bounced off that trend line, as you can see, very recently. That's a good sign. It shows to us that the uptrend still remains intact. So we have a series of higher lows showing to us we're still in an uptrend. If we zoom in on the chart, notice despite all these volatile movements on the chart of silver, up, down, not to mention the big drop that we had here as well, despite all these volatile movements we've had in silver, the good news is, the positive news is that silver, as you can see here, and I just mentioned this a few minutes ago, silver managed to protect that trend line, this magenta line, and bounce from it. That's a good sign. So, in other words, the positive side of it is that we're still in an uptrend, a long-term uptrend on silver metal. And another good sign is that silver did not break down below the support levels. And by that I'm talking about here, this support level here, we made in June. This support level we made in August. Notice that silver did not break down below this important support level, about 22 or 22.3 if you want to be more exact, approximately. Now, this is something extremely important. Even though I'm saying that silver still remains in an uptrend, there is something important and critical we need to pay attention to. There is a bit of a warning here, and that is this, that yes, it's a good sign that silver has maintained itself above this rising uptrend line. But here's the bottom line. Notice how many times silver has now come and tested this level. Well, once here at about 22.3 or about 22.2 approximately there, okay? Then a second time here, as you can see in August, about 22.3. And a third time, 3 times now, we've been testing this level, approximately 22.3, or let's just say about 22, more or less. We've been testing this region now for 3 times in the last several months. Now, why is that important? Because, as my good friend Charlie Burton has said, there is a pattern in technical analysis, and it's called pebbles on a pond. Pebbles on a pond simply says that the more times price comes down and tests a key region, like for example this region here, the more times price comes down to test a key support level, then there is a higher probability that the next time it comes to test that level, let's say a 4th time. If there is a 4th time, we don't know. But what that simply means is the more times the price comes down to test a key level, the more likely it is to break it. And for silver, that would not be a good thing. Because if silver, and I say it's a big if, but if silver was to come down and test this level one more time, this 22.3 or 22 region here, there's a very high chance, there's a very high probability that it might break down below it and force us into a downtrend. Now, so what we're saying is, let me just pull this back a little bit so we can see a bit more clearly. If we just zoom back a bit again, let's just go back to that trend line again. In other words, if silver, and I say if, I'm not expecting this. I should say that I'm still remaining long-term bullish. Why? Because silver has maintained and kept itself above this uptrend. So I have no reason at present to be bearish because we haven't broken the trend line. We're above support. Okay, so the reason why I still remain cautiously bullish, I still remain bullish on silver for the long term, the reason is that silver did not break down below this trend line. It bounced from it, as a matter of fact. It held it, it bounced from it. And also it did not break down below market structure. It did not break the support level, the $22 region approximately there. So I can maintain a reasonably cautiously bullish expectation for silver as long as it stays above 22 or 22.3, keeping it simple. Here's something important I need to mention. If silver was to break down below the support, and here's something I just want to go back to it again. I mentioned just a few minutes ago that the more times price comes down to test the key level, the more likely it is to break it. If silver was to come down again and test this region one more time, if silver was to come down, for example, if it was to test this level one more time at 22.3 or 22.11 approximately, if it was to come down to this level one more time, which I hope it won't, again, I'm not expecting this, but if it did come down to test the 22.3 level one more time, there is a very high probability that the next time it tests that level, it might actually break down below it and force us into a bear market, because essentially that would mean a breakdown, a break below the lows of 22.3 or $22, and a close below that level could initiate a bear market or a reversal in trend and indeed a downtrend. And you can see why, because a break below that support, a breakdown below the lows of September would mean also a breakdown below this trend line that we have here. So the bottom line is, guys, that I do not want to see silver breaking down below the lows of September and below the trend line, because if it happens, again, I'm not expecting this. I actually think it's less likely now because it's bounced from it. But if it happens, again, we always have to look at the risks. But if that happens, if we see a breakdown below the lows of September, that would mean a break of trend, a break of the uptrend, and a potential bearish reversal. Again, if silver was to break down below the lows of September and below the 22.3 level, and if it closes below it. Let me just repeat one more time that I actually don't think that's going to happen. Again, I'm going to remain cautiously bullish and optimistic on silver, provided silver protects and stays above that key support level, again, the 22.3 level that we have here. Okay, so at present, I think it's a good sign. Let me just mention one more thing. Even though I'm still remaining long-term bullish, I do want to see confirmation. Now, when I say confirmation, all I mean is this, that I want to see silver ideally getting above this level, 23.87. If silver can get through that and close above 23.87, or let's just say about 24, keeping it simple, then that would be a very good sign for silver. That would be a sign that bulls have regained control. If I was to be more conservative, and if I wanted to add even more probability, I would say we could wait for silver to get above this resistance at about 24.7. If silver breaks this level and closes above that, that would be a very strong, powerful bullish sign for silver as well, because that would be a break of key resistance here. So we could also wait for that one as well, but I'm just saying that I think a break of this first initial resistance at 23.87, if we get through that, that would be a very good sign in the longer term as well for silver, because that's a sign that bulls have regained control. So keeping it simple, I would say ideally I want to see these levels break. 23.87 is the first resistance, but ideally also about 24.7. But I think an initial break and confirmation by a move above this level and close above 23.87, this green line would be a very good sign for silver if we actually manage to get through that. And also, very importantly, as I mentioned, again, just to repeat one more point, silver must protect and remain above the key support level at 22.3. Okay, as long as silver remains above 22.3, I can remain bullish. Any break below 22.3 and a close below this level, which I'm not expecting, I think that's low probability, but if it happens, then I would have to change my mind, and then I would have to become very bearish if this support level, if this low was to break, which hopefully it won't. Again, I don't think it's going to happen personally, because silver seems to be telling us that it wants to protect that level by this bounce that we had. This very strong rally and bounce that we had from that trend line. Okay, so let's hope that silver can maintain itself above this trend line and above this support at 22.3, and hopefully we get through resistance. So that's really what I have here. Okay, thanks very much indeed, guys. I hope this video helps. If it has, give it a like, and I'll see you in the next video update. Cheers. Thank you very much indeed. Bye for now.